From eating less than 1 protein a day to risking lung cancer for the role, Cillian Murphy reveals his crazy diet for Oppenheimer. So what's the secret of looking like that in a movie so demanding? Well, his co-star Emily Blunt revealed his meal plan, which consisted of a single almond a day. She talked about how the actor had such a monumental undertaking and how emaciated he was. Murphy also used that word to describe the scientist he was portraying, and according to Google, it means abnormally thin or weak because of an illness or lack of food. Was he ill? Not till later in his life. Did he not eat food? Does the almond diet not answer that question? Fun fact, a single one of those has less than a gram of protein and less than 10 calories. The human body needs at least 2,500 calories a day, and this guy lived like this for 57 days. Talk about devotion to your craft. It looks like all of Christopher Nolan's stars go through the same thing, because Christian Bale did the total opposite of what Murphy did. After filming The Machinist, Bale looked like he could pass as Oppenheimer, but since he had to bulk up for Batman Begins, he stuffed himself with pizzas and ice cream, going from 119 pounds to 185 in just 6 months. But this movie isn't a crime-fighting superhero film. It's something way more intense. Murphy plays J. Robert Oppenheimer, and let's just say he wasn't the most muscular of scientists in the 90s. In case you need a quick history lesson, the man played a huge role in the Manhattan Project in World War II, where he led the mission that developed the atomic bomb. Spoiler alert, they achieved what was once thought to be impossible, putting the scientific director under a lot of pressure for his controversial politics. I'm not going to bore you with the details of that part of his life, because that's what the movie is for. Nolan found his next story in this historical event and picked Cillian to be the star of his film for the very first time. Before this, he usually played a supporting role in his movies. In Batman Begins, he was the villainous Jonathan Crane, better known as Scarecrow. In Inception, he played Fisher, and in Dunkirk, wait, did anyone from that movie even have a name? And how many things have these two guys worked on together? But it looks like Oppenheimer has proven to be the biggest challenge for them, which included things like dealing with a huge cast of A-listers and refusing to use CGI for the effects. So what else did he do apart from eating a single dry fruit all day? Well, he went straight to the books. He dove into American Prometheus, Triumph and Tragedy of a Genius, written by Kai Bird and Martin J. Sherwin, and called it to be an essential and highly accessible book. By the way, the movie is based on this book. He also read the Bhagavad Gita, which is a 700-verse Hindu religious text that the physicist would quote from. This book is about the wisdom and guidance given by Lord Krishna, addressing questions of life, duty, and morality. This was sent down because Arjuna, a warrior in the book, is filled with doubt and moral dilemmas about fighting in a battle. He's torn between his duty as a soldier to fight for righteousness and his aversion to the violence that comes with any war. So if you think about it, Oppenheimer is Arjuna, and he was caught in a moral dilemma when he was inventing the atomic bomb. Gita was an important part of the scientist's life, since he used to send his friends letters in Sanskrit. Referencing the book, he found a connection between philosophy and war, meaning that this story is more complicated than just a historical drama of a bomb. Little did you know, the famous "I am the destroyer of worlds" quote is from the Bhagavad Gita. I bet half of the internet didn't know that because they were too busy making memes and using that one screenshot as their banners and headers. Do you see why Nolan chose this person to make a movie on? What went on behind the scenes of the Manhattan Project is much more complicated, and the film depicts each detail in all its glory. Even Murphy talked about how he read the Hindu texts and found them to be, and I quote, "absolutely beautiful. Actors usually do whatever it takes to get inside the mind of who they're playing. I mean, just look at Heath Ledger and how he prepared to be the Joker in The Dark Knight. For 6 weeks, he locked himself up in a hotel room and wrote a character diary. He also spent his alone time experimenting with different voices and did a lot of meditation to perfectly capture the comic book character. The way Nolan's stars always go the extra mile for his movies really put a smile on Murphy's face because his relationship with the director also helped him prepare for the role. Don't think for a second that he fit in Oppie's shoes with no help, because those conversations with his tailors just didn't end. When talking about what it was like to lead in a Nolan film, he said that the director wasn't a fan of bathroom breaks. This doesn't come as a shock to people because when shooting The Dark Knight Rises, Anne Hathaway said that he didn't allow chairs on set. Looks like the critically acclaimed director doesn't like to see his cast and crew wasting time, which sounds exhausting, to say the least. Murphy said that Nolan is brilliant with actors and takes the time to understand them and believe in their true potential. The same potential that he helps bring out when shooting a scene, which probably explains why we're seeing stars like Josh Peck, Jack Quaid, and Devin Bostick in the same movie as Oscar winners and nominees. Christopher is also no stranger to experimenting with different line deliveries, even if it involves improv. Murphy admits that he'd come in and whisper very quietly in your ear to give you a few pointers, and this is what helped him perfect his role as the father of the atomic bomb. He praised the director and his work ethic with kind words like calling him a genius and phenomenal. Yeah, no one doubts that for even a second, and it's cool to see how involved he is with his cast. If there's anyone who did more research about the character that Murphy is playing, it'd have to be Nolan. The only advantage is that he didn't have to eat 1 almond a day for months of shooting, which was probably an exaggeration now that you think of it. But was this emaciating diet worth it? Short answer, yes, because Oppenheimer was a very unhealthy man. I mean, why wouldn't he be? The man who was revolutionizing nuclear weapons and changing the course of the World War before our very eyes had to be stressed to the bone. Forget the white hair and receding hairline, you could tell from his face that he was not doing okay. From the stills that we've seen before the film's release alone, the actor sure did capture that stressed-out expression on his face. I don't think there's a single frame where his eyes aren't popping out of his skull and wrinkles that aren't all over his face. The other part of his strict diet is probably what helped to give that look. And no, it's not a cashew to go with his meal for one. Like the scientist himself, Murphy smoked many cigarettes on set. The actor described him as someone who lived on martinis and cigarettes, with a couple of pipes here and there. As expected, Oppenheimer was diagnosed with cancer, which led to his death in 1967. As a fan of his movies, this sounds scary since he's putting his life at risk for the role. Not to worry though, because actors are usually given herbal cigarettes, ones that don't have any tobacco in them. But if you've seen him in the hit show, Peaky Blinders, you'd know that he smokes a lot of them too. Too much of something is never good, right? He talked about how even herbal come with health warnings now, and promised that the next character he'll be playing will not be a smoker. This whole experience was exciting for him, even if it meant that he'd wake up to loud banging sounds on set. He talked about how he'd sleep for a few hours and wake up to explosions as if he was on a set. This gave him a competitive mindset, which isn't healthy at first, but Murphy found this energy to be thrilling. The way this movie's performing and the overwhelmingly positive reviews that are churning out from every article, it's safe to say it's worth it. And so from risking lung cancer for the role to eating less than 1 protein a day, Cillian Murphy revealed his crazy diet for Oppenheimer.